Welcome to another edition of Ask Why, and we are on episode 7, and I'm really excited for our conversation this evening. And this one is based around the issue of single parent homes. And the reality is we are in a situation in Trinidad and Tobago due to the COVID-19 pandemic where more and more single parent homes are vulnerable within society. So we have a beautiful group of women here with us today. I want to say all single parents, but no, only three of us. Trisha from Family Life Commission is very happily married, and Trisha, that gives us a lot of joy, and we hope that you will share from that perspective also. But I do count myself in this bracket. My name is Dominique Hefes-Doon. I'm the Research and Social Media Officer of the Catholic Commission for Social Justice. And give me a minute to just briefly introduce. We have Renice Francis and Rosemary Smith, both beautiful, thriving single mothers. And, thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. We're really excited to learn about your stories, learn about your journeys, and learn about the experience of the single mother within society, within Trinidad and Tobago society. So before we really kind of get into the line of questioning, I would actually like to give Trisha Sims here a little more attention. Trisha, thank you for joining us on the show. This one, I've been really excited to have you on for a while. You are the head of Family Life Commission. And I thought it was really important to have you here because you're going to offer so much richness in terms of your grounding in our Catholic social teaching doctrine. In particular, today we're going to be looking at Pope Francis's Amoris Laetitia, or the joy of love. And what's particularly all-encompassing and embracing about this particular piece of writing that Pope Francis has put forward is his call to meet people where they stand, to embrace people no matter what their life situation is. Mm-hmm. We are not here to judge. We're here to come together because, again, and I always go back to this one, and this one is Laudato Si, we're all interconnected. So thank you so much for joining us, ladies. So please take a minute to introduce yourself. Trisha, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I'm Trisha Sims, wife for 21 years, a mother of 2 teenage boys, the Episcopal delegate at the Family Life Commission. And my mother was a single parent and she raised 5 children. And I think she did a good job.
We think she did a good job too, Trisha. That is excellent. So please, Renice, take a minute to introduce yourself.
Okay, so I am Renice Francis, the mother of a 1-year-old boy. He's 6 years old, 6 probably going on about 65. And, it's a joy to be here and I'm very, very happy to be included.
Thank you so much. Rosemary.
Hi, everybody. So I'm Rosemary Smith. I am the proud mother of a newly minted teenage boy, just turned 13 this week. The single mother role has been a real journey. I've embraced it fully. And I'm just happy to be here to share the experiences.
Thank you. Once again, welcome, ladies. So I would actually like to start off with just, if you would like to share your story, on how this happened for you, because, as we were saying off air, this was something that no one really intends, especially when you're raised with a particular value or focus on how your life should look according to the Catholic faith. Being a single mother, being a divorced parent, being a separated parent is not something anybody plans. And when it happens, it's psychologically and emotionally very difficult. And then when you're a mother, you also then have to factor in the psychological implications for your children too. And that's a journey unto itself. So please, again, Renice, let's begin with you. What's your story? What happened?
So I'd say it's the typical, you get involved with someone, you fall into a situation where you think this is going to work, then the baby comes along and all of a sudden everything seems like it's falling apart. And so it did, it fell apart. And I would say I was a single mother, but I'm not a single mother anymore. And the reason why I would say that is because it took quite some time and a lot of forgiveness and a lot of healing to bring myself and to bring his father to a place where we could now co-parent and have a healthy relationship with our son. And truly, that was not at all easy, but it was something that we needed to do if we wanted our son to have a happy family and thrive in life without having questions of, does this parent love me? Why don't I see daddy? Or, and all these questions that, children really shouldn't have to ask. So in order to bridge that gap, we had to make a decision. So I would say I was a single parent when I was stuck in my ways and felt very angry and very emotional, and I wasn't emotionally intelligent. And then we both came to a place of healing, and we both made a decision that this couldn't work any longer. And of course, I have tremendous family support as well. So I think if I say I'm a single mother, I would be discounting the fact that I do have the support that I do, So this is a very much village raised a child situation, right? Everyone is raising him, everyone is loving him and taking care of him. So this is what happened. We broke up, unfortunately, but things happen. It's just what happens in life, and this is where we're at today.
Oh, that is excellent. And there's so many things you touched on there that I will definitely go dive deep into. But Rosemary, before we get on to that, please tell me your story.
Sure. So I had my son fairly late in life. I grew up in church and always wanted to do everything by the book, no cart before the horse sort of thing. And my son came along about a decade after I had been married fairly young and had already gotten divorced, gone through the annulment process, everything. And I was sort of, I'd always been a big fan of marriage, and, wanted to do this thing right. I was so happy after I got the annulment, and I could try again. Went through all of the thoughts and everything you try to arrange to figure out, what would have been my lessons to learn from, my previous experiences. So when I got involved in a relationship, I had actually been in church work, and I really was hoping that this would, go the way that I had anticipated, meaning that there would be a Catholic marriage, and, we would accept children and the whole thing. But it did not happen that way. Now, my son's father is not Catholic as well. And I can see now, people tell you about these things from before, and you listen and you kind of discount it, or you take it for the weight of it. But having been the product of a mixed marriage myself, my father married my mother. She was Hindu. She's converted now. But it was a mixed marriage. And there wasn't, I grew up fully practicing Catholic and everything. So in my mind, I thought it's okay. If they're not of the same religion, it's not going to be that much of a struggle if you are going in the same direction together. So, of course, the rose-colored glasses are firmly on, right? So when things seemed to be okay, but then I kept thinking, we need to get to the marriage stage. I want to do this thing the right way. And both of us thought were not capable of having children, because in my first my marriage there was none. So I always thought, the problem is with me. So lo and behold, there's this big shock now. Oh, okay. And I just distinctly remember the moments when I found out, and I said, I realized I wanted to be a mom all my life, So I understood it for the extreme blessing that it was. And then there was all that terror right after, because, it's not, in the planned fashion. And by then I had realized this relationship I had, I realized it's not going to be long term. But there was no doubt in my mind, there was never a choice for me about what to do with this child, embraced him fully and had him. And that was, I always wanted to be a wife and always wanted to be a mom. And I tell everyone, I got what I wanted, just they're not together and they're not in the correct order. They're not together. So, and I have been fully responsible for him. He has been the joy of my life. And again, like Renice, it takes the village. I was fortunate to have my parents with me, and my father was very ailing and elderly, but he was able to have this joy of a grandson, his first grandson, before he passed. My mom has helped me a lot. And it has been, I would say, a definite journey of loving and understanding and forgiveness as well, to ensure that from my son's perspective, he knows his both parents, and trying not to lose myself or compromise myself in that, so knowing that, okay, this is a situation, and as much as I may dearly want this for my son, that, he has both of his parents together, I have to be sure about what I am modeling for him. He must not see that a dysfunctional relationship just continues and continues just because, I really wanted to model for him, a sacramental marriage, to see, how it is to love. And I think loving now, it just takes on different forms. His father and I have a good relationship. We talk. With the COVID, it has changed a bit in that he's more accessible. He's able to, come visit my son here by me. Before we were trying to do the sort of, sharing, right? So every other weekend he would go there, that sort of way. And I felt it was disruptive. And up to this day, I sit down and I worry every day about, his environment, the way things are, and how will it affect him as a man, as an adult later on? How will he view women? So I'm very, very aware of all of those things. Went through a lot of, all the original pain therapy and all of these different courses. I would have gone through all of that. So my mind, I like to overthink things. So my mind was like, this is a situation. How am I going to best, make the best of it so that he understands? And doesn't feel unloved.
That's so healthy. And what I get from both of you immediately is this commitment, one, to your truth, your self-awareness, and then passing that on to your children. And this is, and Trisha, I'm going to come to you, but I want to make this point that both of you have both said in a roundabout way that you would not accept a level of dysfunction because you wanted to give your children something better. And may I commend you on that, because that takes a lot of bravery. So ladies, hats off to you. So Trisha, I'm coming to you on many fronts, but first off, being as you've just said, your mother was a single parent who raised 5 children, and especially in that period where there was certainly single mothers, single parents, single family households, they're more accepted now because they're so much more common. But back then, people would stay together, even when it was no longer healthy. But, obviously your mother was one of the brave ones. doing it with 5 kids. Can you tell us about your experience?
Thank you very much for having us here. Now, my mother is a saint. I want to start there because my mother is East Indian descent and my father from Trinidad, and my father is African descent from Tobago. In that time, in the 70s, okay, mommy was a Hindu at the time. She's now a convert Catholic. So when Rosemary talked about her mother there, I could identify. And my father was an Anglican. But somehow we got baptized in the Catholic Church, all 5 of us. I don't know how that happened, but that happened, okay? And I think at the time, we were the outside children. We knew it because we were told that from people that we were the outside because my father married somebody else the year my mother had me. But my mother still had 3 other children with him. So at that time, it was mommy loved us. And you see love, as in Amoris Laetitia, chapter 4, love, you could have this, that, and the other, but if you don't have love, you have nothing. And mommy loved us. And I think that's what I'm hearing with Rosemary and Renice as well, that the village is who raised us. So I had a grandmother who was with us, and she did the best that she could. We didn't have a lot of things. And at the time, that was hard because a lot of people had things we didn't have. At times, my father provided for us in some ways, and at other times he didn't because he wasn't present. But mommy loved us and granny loved us. And I guess, and mommy wanted something better for us. And that's what I'm hearing with Renice and Rosemary. Mommy wanted something that was better. She didn't have a full education, and she ensured that we got an education. We were able to go to school, and even if we had to eat bread, that's what we ate. And we went to school, and the community around us also saw the need of the single parent, and they chipped in. So somebody dropped us. We lived in Arima, and we went to school in Port of Spain, and the neighbors volunteered to take us to school. So we grew up knowing that that people around us, we weren't, while some people told us that we were outside, we were inside in a lot of people's minds and hearts. And we were inside the love thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that, the message of Amoris Laetitia, where it talks about in number 57, which I can identify with in my own story. And what I'm hearing here is that I thank God that many families, which are far from considering themselves perfect, I don't know any perfect family. I don't know if you know, but I don't know any perfect family, live in love. And what is love? Love is an action word, a doing word. Love is giving of oneself. Fulfill their calling. I felt my mother fulfilled her calling and keep moving forward. Mommy kept going. She knew she had a vision for us, even if they fall many times along the way. And mommy fell many times along the way, and we all continued to fall along the way, but she didn't stay down. She picked herself up and she kept going again. So that's a little teeny weeny bit about my little story.
I think that is, and took those quotes, and I want to pull out something you just ended with there. Even if you fall many times along the way, and that is so crucial because we perceive, failed relationships as failure. And that is so psychologically damaging. And it's hard to pull yourself back up and keep going. But for anybody who's listening out there today in our audience, you've not failed. Keep going. This is your journey. God is in control. He has a plan for you. Let's do it together. Oh, thank you so much, Trisha. I love that. Some key words that you've all said: journey, healing, forgiveness. I really want to delve deep into these topics right now. And I'll start with immediately, how did your faith, how did your personal connection to God help you along your journey, bringing you to a place of deeper healing and obviously forgiveness is such a big part of this journey. You got to forgive yourself. You got to forgive your failed relationship and your failed partner. And you got to sometimes forgive your community in a way, because the reality is there will always be judgments. And we have to counter that, stand strong, stand firm, and move through it. So Renice, let me start with you.
I think for me, it really stems from what you see around you growing up. And so my grandfather wasn't around with my grandmother, and we lived with her, of course, the extended family. But I never heard my grandmother say anything badly about my grandfather. It's your grandfather, and that's it. And as I grew up, I've never, to this day, heard my mother say anything negative about my father. And so when it came to me, my son knows nothing about what would have transpired because I was taught and I learned that that's adult business. And so he only needs to know mommy loves him and daddy loves him, and that's it. That's as much as he needs to do. So he would say, mommy, my daddy love me. I say, like, cook food. He love you, like, cook food. And when he sees him, the excitement and the joy and I think healing comes from wanting better. And when you want better for yourself and for your children, you make a conscious decision to say, I have to do better. And it's difficult to do better. It's easy to want to do better, but it's difficult to actually do better. And for me, I felt, and I'm speaking from a place of, this isn't information that I know long time. This is 2021 COVID information because you're backed against a wall. And, I fortunately, so I say both, I unfortunately and fortunately got COVID. So I unfortunately got it. So my health was disrupted and my life was disrupted. But I fortunately got it in that I was stuck in four walls and I had nothing to do but think. So in that moment, being stuck, recognizing I need help, recognizing it's okay to ask for help, having to go through a period where you're really just stuck with your thoughts, you have nothing but yourself and making a decision that I need to evolve. So in that moment, I recognized that I had resentment within myself, resentment that I felt towards my family, towards my mother, towards his father. And I wrote down a list of names of people who I needed to forgive. So I decided I would start there. And I wrote those people down. And every single night, I would pray for those people. Every night. And it's not something I heard anywhere. I was just, when you listen, God, his voice sounds louder, right? So he said to me, this is what I needed to do. And as I prayed for my mother more, I began to forgive her. And it's not that she did something that I had to forgive her. It was my own misconceptions of her doing her best that I didn't think was good enough that I had to forgive. And I had to do the same with his father, in that I had to recognize some people do things at a time when they don't exactly know what they're doing. And I had to forgive him for that and forgive me for beating myself up about not recognizing that. And through that whole process, I became more open to just listening and being more, not just obedient to God, but just being more open to hearing other people's side of the story. And with that, I became it just flows now where I'm just willing to hear more and listen more and speak a little bit less. And it doesn't say that it's easy. It's not easy at all. But because I got a taste of what it feels to, there's a different kind of love that comes through you and that you feel inside when you forgive somebody, because I feel like I got a taste of that. It's like, I don't want to let that go. So I'm really holding on to that. And just this week, like I said, this is COVID information, right? Mm-hmm. Just this week, his father and I, we had a good conversation. Unfortunately, his grandmother passed away. And I think even in her passing, he recognized even more things on his side, because he's been healing too. And we were able to actually sit down and really talk, wow, and have a conversation and say, hey, this is what happened. And he apologized, and my son is 6. That's 6 years. And I got an apology this week, right? And so it's a big deal when you open yourself up to God's healing you, because we always want to push him off. We always want to be like, no, I could do it. I could do it. And we say as women, I'm fiercely independent, but that's trauma. That's not saying that I don't want anybody around me because I don't trust anybody to be around me. So I've become fiercely independent because I'm telling you, I don't want your help. And in COVID, I didn't have a choice but to need help. I needed help. And I went from having surgery into COVID. So I had surgery in March. I couldn't even walk. My mother had to do everything for me. She had to bathe me. She had to do everything. And then I got COVID. So my mother again having to really take care of me. So it was tough. How do you look at that situation and be ungrateful? It's like, is something wrong with you? Did you just see that woman just did all of that and didn't complain and didn't break you down? You begin to say to yourself, the problem is with me then. Because if all I could see is that everybody else is doing something wrong, then it means that something is wrong with me and how I am dealing with things and how I am perceiving things. So I just think that when you allow your mind to be free and you make a decision and you say to yourself, and I have this thing where I say it out loud, because if I say it out loud, it means that I'm doing it. I'm actively doing it. And I say, God, I'm ready. Help me. Like, I need help. When I say it out loud, I genuinely believe, because I'm making that first step and I'm saying it to him, he is saying, I hear you. I hear you. I got this. We got this. We all right. We all right. And he's taking me through that process and through that journey. And again, and I tell everybody this, it is not easy, because people think the healing is going to happen right away and you're going to be good as gold. It don't happen that way. So when you allow God and you accept that this isn't going to be easy, but you take it every day at a time and you willfully make that decision. Every day you say, listen, because God and I, we're friends, right? So I say, God, I ain't able. Whatever you do here, I don't know what it is, right? So right now I'm blocked because I can't see what you're trying to show me. Mm-hmm. Give me something to hold on to, show me a bone. And I believe he hears me. He gives me little signs that says, it's okay, I'm still here, don't feel like you're alone. My mother might say something, or a friend might say something, and that's my little word. Hold on, hold on, hold on. So I think healing and forgiveness is, I don't think people talk about it enough. I think we need to push it more. Forgiving yourself, forgiving others, healing for you first. because when I healed for me first, everything else worked out. Everything else is working out. So that's my tidbit, or more than a tidbit.
That was more than a tidbit. I'll tell you that. That was, and can I actually just reiterate, because you gave such a powerful action practice that I think beyond, this program, anybody could employ, because the reality is we all need to forgive. All of us across the board, whether we're single, we're married, no matter, if you know somebody, you need to forgive them.
Yeah.
Once you're in a relationship in any context, forgiveness is required. And you said you wrote down a list of people to forgive and you prayed for them every day. That is so powerful. And I can tell you, I'm going to start doing that, because I think that's right. That's the shift. And I love that, again, that intention and that direct speak to God. God, I'm ready. I love it. Thank you so much, Renice. So, Rosemary, please tell me.
Well, growing up, I wasn't surrounded by any broken families. Everybody was together. Everybody looked after each other. So, and I had gone through, I think I've always been really trying to be very much aware. I always feel very aware of the hand of God, moving and working. When I went through in my 20s, through my marriage and divorce, and there was no children, I really felt afterwards, because I was angry, or well, I wouldn't say angry, but I was just looking out for these kids that just never, showed up during the marriage. And I realized that was the hand of God, showing me, okay, you're not seeing down the road, but down the road. So it's like, in hindsight, it's like, oh God, thank you. When I realized, okay, this is the outcome, then I realized, you really feel the hand of God there. And with my experience now with the single parenting, I have always felt like, okay, maybe my son needs to have this experience of this broken family. I know it's kind of bad to use that word, but the business of persevering and of remembering yourself and what you're about has been something I've always kept with me. I never really felt like ostracized. We're living in different times. So I remembered when I had gotten divorced, I was writing for Catholic News, and my father was like, "Girl, don't put your real name. You can't be telling people, And I was saying, but why? People, it's not that much of a stigma, I have not failed. And then I remembered going to Mass when I was pregnant. There may have been some judgy looks, but I never really felt like I was, kicked out in any way or anything like that. It's just that when he was 1 year and 2 years old, it actually was kind of difficult to come to Mass because he would never sit still. So you always have to be up, walking him, going in the car park. It didn't make sense trying to go to Mass with him, But as he grew older and he settled down, then, there was this joyful participation again. But my journey the resentment has been something that, I recognize that I am able to forgive, and I'm fine that I know I can judge for myself in how I'm able to speak about it after, speak about the experiences and so on. If I can speak about it and not be, totally trying to use the wrong vocabulary when I'm speaking and that sort of thing. And like Renice, no one had to tell me this, but I just knew for my son's sake, there was no bad talking his father. Whatever resentment I was feeling, I kept it here. Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't have even really said it as much to friends and family because, in my mind, I was like, up until this day, I said it just the other day, I take full responsibility for all my actions, and I can't control anybody but myself. So as much as I thought I learned lessons from my first significant relationship that, you really cannot change someone, I realized that there were some shades of it here too, that, I was hoping, that things would be different. People can change through forgiveness and understanding, but I really don't think the core nature of who you are, changes. So the resentment has been something that, even though I'm able to very comfortably talk about, everything that's happened and talk about things now, and as we plan for his future and we look at, how we're going to be there as he grows, because now he's moving to independence, as this adolescent. Now it's not about telling him how to do something, but letting him know that mommy and daddy are there, that, he can navigate. And then when he wants to bounce off the ideas, that we're there for him. But I still do, on a daily basis, sometimes deal with those resentful feelings, but I have never, sat down or in a common conversation with him, say, your father never used to do this, and your father never used to, I turn it around, especially now that he's older and he's asking questions, right? The other day, for Mass, when we had those readings about Genesis, with the rib is coming out of the man and forming the woman, and when Jesus is being asked about divorce, my son turns around to me in church, in Mass, and he does not speak quietly, and he says, "So why aren't you married?" And I'm grateful for the Mass, because I'm there like, I'll talk to you after. So how do you explain, you don't want it to seem like you are, you're trying to tell him that the other person came up short, or that you came up short. But so I just sort of, marriage is a commitment. Love is a commitment. It's more than just a feeling, and these kind of things that you want to have for your life, So he's listening, and I'm trying to tell him it this way rather than the other way. And he's listening and said, "Oh, so you and daddy, then you all didn't have that?" I said, "Well, no, we didn't," and just trying to show him, just how best to live, even though, like we say, not any family will be perfect, but I still do worry about, if I could do better, in terms of a full, complete family, even for him. I don't think that will go away. But I trust in God. I have to say, trust, I always look at it like a perspective sort of way. I would say, I am here, the road is here, and I'm on the road, and I can only see right here, but if I were a bird, I would see way down the road. So I have to trust that, I'm where I am, and I can't, I don't like the feeling of just being anxious all the time, why aren't things this way? And to me, that there's nothing positive about that. Somewhere along this journey after my son was born, I said to God, I said, look, you see this up and down roller coaster thing that I'm on with my son's father. I just release it. I just want to, I want to be able to just operate from a base of love and not fear. I want to accept things as they are. I don't want to be fighting, because I was fighting for the first couple of years of his life. I was fighting, we need to be together. We need to work on what's, between us, because I was just terrified this child is not going to have his parents, but then to come over time to this place where, okay, it is what it is. I'm here. Father's there. He has, we try to put it this way, you have 2 bedrooms, you have 2 houses, you can go vacation in one, and then I know it's not the ideal, but you just try to coin it in a fashion that it's you work with the situation, you work with the situation. Sorry about the dinging, I forgot to put this on fire.
No, but I love what you just said in terms of you've chosen a perspective of love. You've chosen a perspective of a trust in God and acceptance of his path. And, you know, that is a lot of the work done, you know, accepting God's plan for your life, you know, going fully submitting to the divine will. That's not an easy thing to do, especially when your life does take this curveball turn. But, you know, one thing that's really coming out from everybody is the phenomenal support that you all have. Now, this is not the reality for all single parent homes, and it's beyond single parent mothers. It's single dads. It's grandparents. It's teen parents who don't have anybody and are just struggling. You know, so Trisha, I want to pull you into the conversation here again. You know, and this is the beauty of the Family Life Commission. Your commission really does give a lot of support to the most vulnerable in this sort of way. Can you speak to us a little bit more in terms of how you guys, how your team seeks to support these vulnerable homes and families?
Well, first I want to say married couples struggle too, and I will start off with a little story. When I got married, because all I knew in my life was single woman and strong single woman, I was pushing off my husband because I wanted to be a strong single woman. I didn't know what it is to be married, you know, this married thing, another voice. I didn't know about that. So unconsciously, and maybe even consciously at times, I was pushing back on that. So in terms of parenting, it was like what I say, you know, is what I say, you know, you don't have a voice. And so I think a lot, we may think married people, well, I know we don't think that married people have it together. They don't. All of us, and in Amoris Laetitia talks about this, I love this, 322. All family life is a shepherding in mercy. Now, you know, when you think about that shepherding in mercy, I just love that. You know, the image of that, a shepherd, what does a shepherd do? You know, guide and is there to care for and stays back. Jesus is the shepherd. You know, Jesus would stay looking for that last love, you know, that one, because he loved him. So all family life is a shepherding in mercy. Each of us, by our love and care, leaves a mark on the life of others. And so I think as parents, as we care for each other, all of us, because all of us are broken in different ways. And it's how do we, you know, as a married couple, you're molding into one. You don't know this person. See me and come live with me, it's two different things. You know, for both males and females, it's not the same, you know. So molding and becoming into one is one thing. And I think a lot of married people struggle with parenting, with forgiveness of self, and with forgiveness of the other, because a lot of times you come in with great expectation, and then you realize what happened here? What really going on? And you know, you realize you have to shift. And the only person that I have found who have remained constant is God. That, you know, God has remained. He never left. We leave him. I leave him. You know, I want to do my own thing. I take it in front before in front take me. But, you know, God has remained constant. And, you know, one of the scriptures that I really like and have been praying a lot during COVID and encouraging others to do, Ephesians 4:31, it says, let go of bitterness, anger, and resentment, and be forgiving as God forgave you in Christ. And that has been my mantra, in particular during COVID, because it's so easy to start to blame the other, to keep blaming and blaming and blaming. But the more you blame is the more you realize how broken you are. That's why you're blaming. Because if you accepted yourself, you wouldn't be blaming so much. And in terms of the ministry that we do at the Family Life Commission, to bring it there, is about accompanying people on their journey. Nobody has it all together, but together we can do it. And as Amoris Laetitia says again, and this is my favorite quote in Amoris Laetitia, in 3:21, it says, for this reason, the family has always been the nearest hospital. The big church is the field hospital, but the family is the nearest hospital. And it goes on, it says, so let us care for one another. Let us guide and encourage one another and experience this as part of our family spirituality. So the nearest hospital, you don't go to the nearest hospital when you're well, You go to the nearest hospital when you're sick, when things bad, and COVID has shown us that. Why people go to the nearest hospital, go on the ventilator, things bad. And the Pope Francis is saying that the family is the nearest hospital. When you're most in need, you're most broken. They are the ones there who are called. Now we even in our brokenness, we are called to care for each other. Offer some water, extend a hand. How you doing? Guide. Parenting can be really challenging, and we saw it a lot. We continue to see it. It's not in the past, it's in the present too. How are we guiding during this difficult time of parenting? Renice has a 6-year-old, Rosemary 13, and I have 15 and 18. And Dominique, you have 7 and 10.
Oh,
right?
you remembered. Well done. Thank you.
Hey, parent guiding. How are we guiding during, how are we helping parents to guide? And the Family Life Commission offers programs, Children Are Gift, to really help parents during this difficult time, how you can guide and mold, and to remember we are in this together and encouraging one another. The family as the nearest hospital is about, you could do this, you'll get, when you go to the hospital and visit somebody, you don't tell them, well, you're on dead, you on death's door. You don't tell them that. You say, you're getting better. Look how you're smiling. Your face looking brighter. In the family, things may be bad there, but we are encouraging families. Let's do this together. Let's accompany people where they're at and walk with them. And that's the beauty, I think, of the ministry of the Family Life Commission and of Amoris Laetitia, where no matter what your family situation, that we are called to make this journey together. Because remember, all family life is a shepherding in mercy.
Oh, that was spectacular. And ladies, I actually have to, I'm glad you said that, because let's close off on that note, because once again, we've run out of time and I knew this would happen. As we entered, to fill the audience in, as we entered the Zoom room, I just felt this immediate connection to you ladies. And I knew, we just said, let's just hit record and let's go for it. And it was so beautiful, organic. And ladies, I strongly wish you well on your journeys. And to anybody in the audience who is a single parent or knows a single parent that needs help, please reach out to the Family Life Commission. Trisha and your team, thank you so much for the wonderful work that you do. Renice and Rosemary, thank you for being such brave women, especially in this time. You really are pillars of our society. And if anybody needs help, especially now, reach out to Family Life Commission and the Archdiocese of Porto, Spain. Thank you so much. On behalf of the Catholic Commission for Social Justice, please enjoy the rest of your evening and join us next week for Ask Why. Bye, everyone.